Oh, okay. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Derek Lalone, and I am a technology integration specialist here at the Mohawk Regional Information Center. And today, what we're going to be talking about and getting started with is Google Classroom. So for those of you that haven't used Google Classroom before, if you are in your Google Drive, or even if you open up a web browser from my Google Drive here, if I come over here to my waffle, right here towards the top is my Google Classroom button. Or if I simply go to classroom.google.com, it'll take me out to the Google Classroom site. Now, what's really nice about Google Classroom, and I'm just going to click to log in here. Oops, let me try that again. Is it offers teachers a way to kind of deliver material and kind of keep conversations going with your students, whether or not you're in the classroom for any given reason. So as you can see here, we already have a few classrooms pulled up, and just to kind of walk you through the process. If I, as an educator, want to create a new classroom, I can come up to the upper right-hand corner here, and there's this little plus sign. As an educator, I'm going to create a class, and when your students join, there's a couple different ways that your students can join classrooms, which we're going to talk about, but there's another option here to join a class as a student, which is primarily where your students are going to go when they actually join your classroom. So I'm going to hit Create Classroom just to kind of show you the prompts that pop up here. And really the only thing that's required is our classroom name. So in this case, I'm just going to type in, I'll just call it integration. Hopefully I spell it right. There we go. And when I'm ready, I can hit create. Because I already have a classroom created, I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of there, and I'm actually going to open up this MORIC example classroom over here on the left-hand side. So when I open up this classroom, and if I come up and click on the title here, you'll see a few different things. First, you'll see kind of a banner up across the top here. Now for aesthetic state, I can come over here and I can change the theme of my Google Classroom if I want to. So if I want to come in and I want to change this to kind of the orange English and history theme, I can select that, and you'll see it'll kind of change the colors of my classroom. That's kind of that first piece of just kind of customizing it to fit your style and what your class is about. But the next thing that we want to do is we want to talk about people before we jump back into the stream. So up here at the top of the page, if I click on the People tab, this is where I can do one of two things. You can see here at the top there's teachers. If I'm co-teaching with anybody, or if I want to share this content with another one of my teachers to have access to be able to create assignments with, or anything along those lines, I can just select the Invite Teacher area. And I'm inviting my coworker, Chris Schaefer, and you can see as soon as I get far enough in the email address, it'll automatically pop up for me. I can select that prompt, and I can invite him as a teacher. And then what you'll notice is as soon as I invite him, you can see it's grayed out. Once he goes to Google Classroom and actually accepts that invitation, he'll be added to my classroom as a teacher. Also, if you look down here at the bottom, you can see I've already begun to add students. So there's two different ways add students within Google Classroom. The first is just as before. I could come in, I could click this little plus sign over here on the right-hand side, and I can type in the name of that student. What a lot of people choose to do, instead of doing it that way, is if I go out to the stream here, you can see right under where it says MORIC Example Classroom, there's a little class code. So what that means is when I go back to, I'm going to pull up my student view here really quick. If I were a student and if I were to come in and select Join Class, if I type in this class code that's on my Google Classroom page right here, that student will be automatically enrolled in my classroom. So there's a couple different ways that we can add people to our classrooms, and I just want to be sure that you had an idea of what that looked like before we move forward. And from there, we're going to kind of talk about basic areas, the stream and classwork, and we're going to talk a little bit about the grading. So first things first, whenever I log into a Google Classroom, I automatically come to this page that you see here, and this is our Google Stream. So this is basically all of the information that's coming in from our classroom. So you can see all of the information that I've posted as far as assignments, reading materials, anything for my students pops up here. The other way that this works is that it kind of works as a social media feed for my students as well. So at any time, if I wanted to share a message with my students, share a resource, have them, comment on something, just to kind of open up a conversation, I can select up by my avatar here, and I can type in a message. I'm just going to say, hey everyone, check this out. And what I can do from here is if I select this little add button underneath, it's going to allow me to add something from Google Drive, a hyperlink. I can upload an independent file outside of Google Drive. So let's say you have a home directory at work, something through Active Directory or Microsoft or anything along those lines. I can go and I can hit that file button and I can get into my system and upload the files from there. Or if there's a YouTube video that I want to share with my students, I can pop that in as well. In this case, I'm just going to open up my Google Drive, and you'll see we have a bunch of different resources here that pop up under recent. If I go under my drive, I can actually dig into everything that I have available within my Google Classroom. And let's say I want to dig into this 9th grade digital literacy, digital footprint and identity folder. And let's say I want to share this presentation. I can just select that PowerPoint, select add, and it'll add that material for my students to be able to look and view. A couple other things to point out is down here in the lower right-hand corner. Instead of just posting, if I select the drop-down menu here, you can see I can post. I can save it as a draft, which means I can go back and edit it later, or I can just save it for a later time. Or if I hit schedule, I can actually schedule this to come out. So say I wanted this post to be published on Monday, I could select schedule, and I can bring it up to post on 8 a.m. on Monday. And when I hit schedule, it'll schedule it for that time. In this case, we're going to cancel that, and we're just going to post it for now, so you get an idea of what it looks like. One other thing that I want to point out before we do that as well is the other great thing about Google Classroom is its robustness in the way that it posts to other classrooms. So what's great is I can come in here, and if I hit that little drop menu at the top, it'll give me all the different Google Classrooms that I have created. So if this is an announcement that I can use across multiple sections of the same course, multiple courses, multiple classrooms, even if it's just a, hey everyone, something to think about kind of message, I can come in and I can highlight the classes that I want to post this singular message to. So that way I don't have to go into 8 classrooms in 8 different sections and copy and paste the same message. I can just create the message once, choose where I want it to go, and post it. I also have the option under the students menu here to post to all my students, or as you can see right now, I only have one student enrolled, and that's Joe Chill. And I can either publish it to all students, or I can select individual students to post it to. So when it's all set, I'm going to make sure all my students are highlighted, and I'm going to hit post. So the other thing that you'll notice is once I've posted my stream, we actually have a comment section that pops up here. What's nice about this is that you actually can give students the ability to comment back and forth. So if you want to have a streaming conversation going on or anything along those lines, just to kind of have a dialogue going back and forth, you can leave this comment section open, and you can kind of leave it up for your students to kind of come out and check in and see what's going on. So that's kind of the stream area. It's pretty simple as far as its functionality. And now what we want to do is we want to jump into the classwork area a little bit. So the classwork area is really where we as educators can come in and really start developing our curriculum and our content. Before in the older versions of Google Classroom, everything had to be run through this stream. This new classwork feature, however, allows us to go in, create different topics to help us organize our content, and then be able to add different materials. So to kind of give you an idea of what I mean, is if I hit the create button up here at the top, these are all the options that I have. I can create an assignment, quiz assignment, a question, material, or I can reuse a post. So these are all the different options that we have. The first thing I want to show everybody is the material button. So if I click on material, The material function is really just content that you want to present front-facing in your course. So whether it's a presentation, a worksheet, an article, something that you want your students to look at, it can be a YouTube video, something that you just want them to have within their curriculum piece that they'll have available to them. So there's not necessarily a grade assigned to it. It's not necessarily something they have to comment on. It's just material for your classroom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in 9th grade. Ninth grade digital literacy, because that's the content that I'm pulling from. I'm going to select the add button. And just like our stream before, we can either pull it from Google Drive, a hyperlink, a file, or a YouTube video. In this case, we're going to pull it right from Google Drive. And we are going to go out to the 9th grade content that I have set up already. And I'm going to grab this worksheet. Actually, I'm going to grab this PDF. And I'm going to add that to my material. So that way, when it's time, students can come out and they can see the PDF that's there. Also, if I want to add multiple materials to the same area or stream, I can simply come out and add. And let's say I put in a YouTube search, it's going to pull up the YouTube search area. And I'm just going to type in digital footprint and hope for the best. So I can go in and I can kind of preview these videos if I want to, but if I know a video that I want, I can just highlight it, select add, and now that video is automatically added to my material as well. So we can kind of add the material as we want, and then we also have this little create button over here on the right-hand side. If I select create, what that allows us to do is it will create a direct link right into Google Drive, and I'll be able to create documents, slideshows, Google Sheets, drawings, and forms on the fly as I'm creating my course content. So don't think of it as I have to have stuff created before I add it to Google Classroom. This is all things that can be created kind of ad hoc and on the fly. The final piece of this that I'll talk about for our materials is over here on the right-hand side. Same ability as our stream, I can add it to multiple classrooms. I can add it to multiple students. And the last thing we have are our topics. So I've already created 2 different topics, which are basically placeholders, or think of them as folders to house your content within Google Classroom. And let's say I want to put that under my digital footprint. I'm just going to put it there. And when I hit post, you'll see now that I scroll down, right here's that 9th grade digital literacy material that I posted. So really, this is how we go in and we organize content within Google Classroom. And the other thing that you'll notice if I go back to my stream, you'll see that my students will get a notification through the stream that I've added new content to their classwork. So if I go back into my classwork, I just want to highlight a few different things before we move forward here. And the first one is if I want to create, and I want to talk about topics. So topics are those placeholders that we put within the Google classwork area here. So if I hit topic, and let's say I do 10th grade cyberbullying this time. And I select add. So now I've created a container for me to put all of my different content in. And the other nice thing about the classwork stream here is, let's say I add something and I put it in the wrong spot. Rather than having to go in and edit things, I can just drag and drop content where I want it to go. So that way I can create my topics, or even if I forget to create my topics, I can go back later and reorganize my work. So I'm going to go ahead and drag this right back down here. And a few other things that I want to show is we have kind of 3 different core areas here. We can have an assignment, a quiz assignment, and a question. Our assignments are basically going to create a graded assignment right within Google Classroom, where students will go out and they'll actually submit content to you. Your quiz assignments, which build a Google form, which is set up as an assessment. So if you do want to set up assessments for your students, you can easily do it through Google Classroom. And then you have your questions. So think of those kind of as like icebreakers or class participation pieces where you could actually apply a grade to if you wanted to. So to quickly go through these, I'm going to create an assignment. and I'm going to call it 10th grade cyberbullying assignment. And let's say I just want to create a writing prompt for this, and I want to say something like, what do you think the meaning of cyberbullying is? And I know that's phrased very poorly, but I will put it out there. And now this is the other nice part. I don't need worksheets that are already created. I don't need things that have already been kind of done for me or things that I have to reformat. I can actually create these things on the fly. So if I put the instructions in up at the top here and say this is the purpose of the assignment, I can essentially give them a blank piece of paper right within Google Classroom to be able to go out and complete their assignment. So if I come down here and hit create and hit docs, it's now going to create that document for my students. So once I've added a file, and once I've added kind of the area or the piece, whether it's a PDF or video or something along those lines, with the assignments piece, what happens is we get this prompt over here on the right-hand side. So you can see right here, at the base level, students can view the file. So if you want them to respond to something, or if this isn't something that's technically something that they're turning in, but it's still going to be held as a grade through conversation or something along those lines, I can set this up so every file that I add is only viewable. Underneath that, I can say students can edit file. So what that means is that all of my students are going to be able to collaborate on one single document and one single document alone. So that means you're going to have, 10 to 15 to 20 users working in one workspace, which is great for collaborative note-taking. But finally, and the one that I think teachers kind of opt for the most, is this third option under here where it says make a copy for each student. So when I do that, what that's going to do, it's going to take this document and it's going to make a copy for every single student, and it's going to distribute it to them, and it's automatically going to share it back with you as the teacher. So then as soon as I create this assignment, I'll be able to go in and monitor the progress of all my students and the progress that they're making with this particular assignment. So a couple other things that we'll kind of touch on. Same as before, we can add this assignment to multiple courses, multiple students. Grade categories, and we're going to talk about that in a second. I set up an assignment and quizzes area, but I'm going to call this an assignment, and we're going to have a 100-point margin there. The due date, I'm going to put due date for March 19th. I can have a time optional. And then our topic, so just like before, I'm going to put this under grade 10 cyberbullying, so it organizes it. And then the other new feature within Google Classroom is that I can come in and I can actually create a grading rubric. So I'm not going to dive too deep into this, but if I do hit create rubric, you can see that I can go in and I can create the different levels of my rubric as I see fit. I'll go ahead and close out of there. But we have our assignment all set up. I'm going to go ahead and assign it. Maybe. Okay, so while we're waiting on that, while that's running, what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to walk you through a little bit, oh, there it goes, the student side of things. So you can kind of see the student experience, and then we'll jump back quickly to see what a teacher will experience when they're actually going into assignments and things like that. So very quickly, I'm just going to slide this over and grab my other window here. So this is the other student within my classroom, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to join their classroom. So this is when I individually invited my students via email. And when I do that, you'll see all of that content that I just created as an educator is popping up in their feed. The other nice piece is now I can go into my classwork, and I can sort by topic filters, and I can kind of sort all of the content that I have to do. If I go back to my stream quickly, the other nice thing is as soon as I log in, you can see that my assignment pops up right here, so I always have kind of a running stream of what content is upcoming and what content is due. So what I'm going to do from my student perspective is I'm going to click on this assignment that popped up. And what you can see is once my assignment actually loads, you can see my document's been popped up here. And I can click on it, and that's going to open up that blank template that we started. And I'm just going to type in very quickly, this is my work. And from the student view, I'm actually going to be able to turn it in right from here. So it's going to double check with me. Am I sure I want to turn this in? I'm going to hit turn in. And it's going to publish that assignment to my teacher. The other nice feature with this is that I can have a private conversation with my teacher right within the documents itself. So I can go in very quickly and I can kind of shoot quick messages back and forth, or any questions that I may have, I can do that right through there. So I've submitted my assignment. So now I'm going to jump back into my teacher view here, and I'm going to kind of show you what that looks like. So if I go into my grades area, what's nice is I can kind of come in and I can see kind of a running kind of tally of the grades that my students have, if they have assignments that need turning in or something along those lines. But if I go back to my classwork page here, let's say I want to go to this 10th grade cyberbullying assignment. When I open that up, what's nice is I can see how many students have been assigned this topic and how many has been turned in. So in this case, we have one assigned that hasn't been completed, and we have one that has been turned in. So if I click on the turned in area, you can see it'll pop up in this area here, and I can go in and I can take Mr. Thon's document here, I can open it up, and now I see the work that they're doing, and at the same time I can come over, I can add comments. So if I highlight this, I can add comments. Please add more. And if I want to, I can give them a grade. So at this point, because they really didn't do anything, I'm going to give them a 65. And I'm going to return it back to my student. So now my student's going to get a notification that that work needs some revision, and before I actually post a grade to this assignment, they have the opportunity to review it, and I have the opportunity to go in and kind of fix the grade after the fact. So I just kind of want to give you a crash course in how the assignment stream works. And very quickly, I'm just going to go back in my classroom here. I want to talk about a couple other different things within here. Really quickly, the question area. So like I said, these are kind of those icebreakers, check for understanding, things like that, that we can kind of set up within our classroom. And this is kind of set up in a conversational format. So it's posting a question on our stream. So if I use the same prompt from my writing assignment, and I can give this a due date of, I'll give it a due date of tomorrow. I can add it to my 10th grade topic. And instead of writing instructions in this case, I'm just going to hit ask. Oops, I got to put a grade category in. Oh. But now that question prompt pops up in my 10th grade cyberbullying unit, and it'll also pop up in my stream for my students to go out and answer. So the last portion we want to talk about quickly is our quiz assignments. And when I hit the quiz assignment here, what's nice about this is I'm just going to call this quiz 1 for the sake of time. I can add instructions. I can also add other material. So if I have any review material, or if I give them kind of a guide to use while they're taking their quiz, I have the ability to do that. But what's nice is Google Forms automatically creates the blank quiz template for me to automatically use. The other great thing about this is over here on the right-hand side, they have locked on Chromebooks. So what that means is, let's look at that from kind of the kiosk point of view. From, if you've used Chromebooks in the past, or if you've done like CBT testing or anything like that, it kind of locks down the Chrome browser. So just like when we're taking, those more important tests, like CBT or something along those lines, they don't have the ability to kind of open up different browsers, check notes, and things like that if you don't want them to. So I just wanted to point out that that is a feature. And if you've never created a quiz within Google Classroom before, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the blank quiz right here at the top. And there's some prompt that it's going to walk me through. But if you've never created a Google form before, I'm going to type in some content here, if I could spell it right. And what's nice about this is I can make these questions multiple choice, check boxes, pick from a drop-down list, file uploads, or I can do a paragraph or short answer. So in this case, I'm going to put in a paragraph form. So that way my students will be able to kind of type for a while and create kind of a paragraph length piece. And then I can come in, and if I want to, I can add answer feedback. So if I want something as a guide for myself as a teacher, I can select that add answer feedback, and I can kind of fill out that content and push it forward. If not, I can come in, I can assign a point value to this quiz, or to this quiz question, hit done, and move on to the next one. The other thing that I can do right here in the lower right-hand corner is I can hit that little required button, which means that students won't be able to submit until they actually answer that last question. So I'm going to go ahead and create kind of another question here. I'm going to keep it very simple. Is cyberbullying good? And I'm going to give it a simple yes, no. And now I can come down into the answer key down here at the bottom and say that's the correct answer. I will also make this a 10-point question and select done. So the other nice thing about using the Google quizzes is that everything auto-saves. So as soon as I'm done with the quiz, I can just kind of move away from it and make sure that one's required. And now I can jump back into my classroom here, turn down my lock mode from Chromebooks, set my due date just like we did before, add a topic or create a topic if I wanted to, attach a rubric if it's an assessment that I'm actually going to use a rubric to kind of use and define, and then I can hit the assign button. And I'm going to go out here quick. And the other thing I forgot is to add a category. If I add my quiz category and I hit assign, there we go. My quiz has now been added to my 10th grade cyberbullying piece. So two other things I'll mention before we kind of end today's quick little session is up here at the top of our classwork stream, we have a Google Calendar. If I click on that, that's going to pull up all the due dates for all my students. So all of your students will have a Google Calendar set up. And as they join classrooms, it'll create a calendar right within their Google Classroom. So they will always have a running tally of what assignments are due for what instructor on what day, which is a really nice feature to kind of build in. And then the other nice piece is we have our class drive folder right here. So let's say I don't necessarily want to drill down every assignment and find the assigns, unassigns, graded, turned in, any one of those different things. If I select this class drive folder, it's just going to take me to Google Drive and the folder created therein. And then I can come in and I can actually find some of the individual files that I have set up. So I can go in and I can actually drill into my own Google Drive to find the assignments that my students are using if I'm more comfortable in that viewpoint. So that in a nutshell is a very, very, very brief overview of Google Classroom. And as always, if you do have any questions for us, please reach out to us at the Mohawk Regional Information Center. You can see my email right down there at the bottom. And like I said before, if you have any questions, please let us know and have a great afternoon.